We're starting today with some absolutely shocking news out of Hollywood. Legendary filmmaker Rob Reiner and his wife, photographer Michelle Singer Reiner, have been found dead inside their Los Angeles home. And this isn't just about losing a cinematic giant. It's a brutal, violent crime scene that has left the entire industry just reeling. What started out as a simple medical aid call on a quiet Sunday afternoon has just completely spiraled into this deeply disturbing mystery. We're talking about two celebrated artists, a couple married for more than 3 decades, found dead from what sources are describing as multiple stab wounds. So how could this happen? And what do we actually know right now? Let's unpack the facts. All right, so here's how we're going to break this down. First, we'll go over the undisputed facts of the case, what we know for sure. Then, we'll dive into the official investigation and a really troubling theory that's starting to emerge. After that, we'll take a moment to remember the incredible legacy of Rob and Michelle. And we'll wrap up with the one major unanswered question that's really at the heart of this whole tragedy. Okay, with so many rumors already flying around, it's so important to start with what has actually been confirmed. So the timeline as we know it kicks off on Sunday afternoon. At exactly 3:30 p.m., a call for medical help comes in from the Reiners' home in the upscale Brentwood neighborhood. Paramedics and police get there literally within minutes, but this was no ordinary medical call. What they found inside immediately turned this into a major crime scene. So here are the absolute core facts. Multiple sources and the authorities have confirmed the identities of the victims and the violent way they died. While an official cause of death is still pending, every report is consistently pointing to fatal stab wounds. The LAPD's top-tier robbery homicide division is now leading the case, and news outlets are reporting it was the couple's own daughter who made the horrific discovery. But here's where the story takes a really strange turn. The official police response, well, it's raised a lot more questions than it's answered. This is the statement that just stunned everyone. You hear about a brutal double homicide, you expect a manhunt, right? A description of a suspect, a plea for the public's help. Instead, the LAPD announces they aren't actively looking for anyone. It's a statement that just sent this wave of confusion through the media and made everyone ask the same thing: why? So why use such cautious language? Well, the deputy chief explained it's really a matter of legal procedure. See, in these very early stages, it's technically called a death investigation. He made it clear that to do a full top-to-bottom search of the house, to go through every single room, every drawer, they legally have to get a search warrant signed by a judge. They have to do this to make sure any evidence they find will actually hold up in court, even if the family says it's okay to search. And that's the question that was just hanging in the air after that press conference. I mean, think about it. If there isn't a killer on the loose who poses a threat to the community, it leads to a really chilling implication: that the person responsible is not a stranger, and maybe they're already known to the police. This ambiguity created a vacuum, and you better believe the media rushed right in to fill it. And that brings us to the unofficial narrative, the story that's being pieced together by media outlets who are citing sources close to the family and the investigation. Now, it is so important for me to say this right here. What we're about to talk about are allegations. They have not been confirmed by law enforcement. And here is the central conflict in this entire story. On one side, you have the LAPD officially stating that no one is being interviewed, but on the other, you have a major publication like People magazine citing multiple sources that explicitly names the couple's 32-year-old son, Nick, as the killer, and even claims he's being questioned by police. Now, this theory didn't just pop up out of thin air. Nick Reiner has had a very public and well-documented struggle with substance abuse. In a project that was both incredibly creative and deeply personal, he and his father actually turned those painful experiences into the movie Being Charlie. And now, media reports are pointing to this very troubled history as the potential backdrop for what might be an unthinkable family tragedy. Amidst all of these grim details of the investigation, it is so essential to take a step back and remember who Rob and Michelle Reiner were and the immense legacy they're leaving behind. This wasn't just some Hollywood power couple. These were artists who literally shaped our culture. For millions of us, Rob Reiner first came into our homes as Michael Meathead Stivic on the groundbreaking sitcom All in the Family. I mean, he won 2 Emmy Awards for that role, but that was just the first act of an unbelievable career. Because then he stepped behind the camera and just look at this run of films. Seriously, from mockumentary to coming of age to fantasy to the perfect romantic comedy, a psychological thriller,
a courtroom drama. He didn't just direct movies, he directed films that defined entire genres and became these cultural touchstones for generations. This is, without a doubt, one of the most remarkable directing streaks in the history of cinema.
And Michelle was his partner in life and so often in creativity. She was a gifted photographer in her own right, and she actually met Rob on the set of one of his most beloved films. Their marriage in 1989 was the start of a 36-year partnership that was a real staple in the Hollywood community.
Tributes have just been pouring in, but this one from Kathy Bates, who won an Oscar for her role in Misery, I think it just captures what so many people are feeling. She highlights not just his brilliance as a director, but his kindness as a person. A man who didn't just make films, but who actually changed people's lives.
And so that's where we're left. We're here in the aftermath of this terrible event, with conflicting reports, an official wall of silence, and a question that is every bit as horrifying as the crime itself. Ultimately, this whole investigation is going to lead to one of two conclusions. Was this a random brutal home invasion, a terrifying reminder that violence can strike anyone, anywhere? Or is the truth something far, far darker, something that happened inside that family, turning a story of Hollywood royalty into a domestic tragedy of truly unimaginable proportions? That is the question investigators now have to answer.